I was told to deliver this message.
Assalamu alaikum, family. It's your brother Landon X. Another episode of NationTown TV Live, a special episode. If we can get it taken care of technically, we're gonna have our dear brother Alfonso X back on the show, one of the founding fathers of NationTown TV. I'm gonna have him greet you guys as well. There's a little bit of discrepancy on the audio as far as me being able to hear him and him being able to hear me. But when you see him on your screen, he's definitely gonna hit you up, brother Alfonso. Put your hand up or something. Let me know if you can hear me. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm here. This is your brother Alfonso X, also known as Brother Malcolm Flex. We are in the building. We live.
Yes, sir, family. Brother Alfonso X. He's gonna have to get on another live feed in a moment, but I'm gonna give him a chance to touch on the topic that we're gonna touch on today. What we dealing
Yeah, I'll
with
turn it over
is
back to you, Brother Landon.
the Final Call cover story, but we have some new developments. Some of you may have already seen the footage, but we got some new developments that pertain to the Ahmaud Arbery case. If you have not checked it out, we have a new digital copy of the Final Call that has just recently been released. Go ahead and get that. But it's dealing with, old racism in the New South. But definitely go ahead and check that out. We're going to touch on that. We're going to also touch on the Boosie situation. But real quick, I'm going to have Brother Alfonso, just give us some of his interpretation of what's going on with Ahmaud Arbery. And also, he has some information about Breonna Taylor. It's a video that you got to watch that's on Malcolm Flex TV, where he broke down the situation with Breonna Taylor, whose home was raided. But Brother Alfonso, tell us, basically your overall understanding and feelings and thoughts as it pertains to Brother Ahmaud Arbery.
Yes, sir. First, I would like to open in the name of Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Far Muhammad. Also, like to bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is his last and greatest messenger and exalted Christ. And also like to bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is divine warner, teacher, and Messiah in our midst. And I would like to greet the viewers with the greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum. And my thoughts on the Ahmaud Arbery situation, is critical because when we look at the entire situation that is taking place with our dear brother Ahmaud Arbery, hold on one second. When we look at the situation, we look at the case of a continuation of modern day lynching that is taking place among black people, and it seems that no matter what we're doing, you know, in society. You know, we could be going to get something to eat. You know, we can be having a barbecue. We can be, you know, just relaxing and sleeping, you know, in our dorm room hallway. You know, we could be on our way home. We could be jogging. And no matter what we are doing, just because the color of our skin, you know, we look suspicious to white people. You know, we could be on the beach, you know, bathing in the sun. You know, we could be walking our children, you know, to school, walking our dog. And for some reason, because the color of our skin, you know, we look suspicious to the enemy. And what happened to our brother Ahmaud Arbery was very an unfortunate situation. They also have police footage of our dear brother, you know, just hanging out, sitting in his car, you know, listening to rap instrumentals. Yes, sir. Just listening to rap instrumentals, writing his rap songs, you know, just hanging out. And the police, you know, drove up to his car. You know, the brother got out of his car and they wanted to see identification basically on claims that there have been a lot of criminal activity in the neighborhood. So they called back up, drew down tasers, and get ready to taser the brother because the brother was obviously upset because he felt that he was being harassed by white police officers. You know what I mean? So the question is, you know, is enough? When is enough? When, you know, white police officers, you know, stop treating us as if we are guilty before we have been proven guilty of any crimes. You know, so it's definitely an unfortunate situation. I'll pass it back to you, Brother Landon, if you have any more questions.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, dear brother. I agree. You know, it's at a point right now where uh, we got to second guess even the most mundane actions, some of the most mundane things like jogging. But what I'm gonna do, inshallah, I'm gonna have the people real quick, brother Alfonso, see what it is we're talking about. The first thing I'm gonna show you is the footage that came out of what he actually did at this so-called house that was under construction. Something that is very normal when there's a subdivision or a house that's being constructed. You know, people just walk in to take a look at it. But I also want to thank Brother Alfonso X for reminding me to start off in the proper fashion. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who appeared to us in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever. I further bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, to be right and exact. And I further bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that beautiful brother who just turned 87 years young, 87 years young. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and in those three great names, I greet you in the words of peace, of Assalamu alaikum. But real quick, what we're going to do is show the footage that they had of what he did in the house that was under construction, and then we're going to see footage from 2017 where he was being harassed. Now remember, the last episode of NationTown TV, y'all can go back and see it. I made the comment before this footage came out that I strongly believe that he's had run-ins with the police in Brunswick, Georgia before. I ain't no prophet. This is the day of fulfillment. The day of prophecy is over. But I called that, and then right after that, that footage came out. So we're gonna take a look at that so y'all can see it, you know, what it is that we're actually talking about. The first footage is gonna be the footage of the day he was murdered, when he went into the house, and then they called the police. And then the next footage is gonna be from the police harassment in 2017.
Newly surfaced video now showing us what happened minutes before AHMAUD Arbery was shot and killed in Brunswick, Georgia. And now his family's lawyers and the GBI are weighing in on what this could mean for this case. Troy Kless has the latest developments for us tonight.
A video showing the last moments of AHMAUD Arbery's life. It's caused outrage around the country, with many asking why it took so long before shooter Travis McMichael and his father Greg McMichael were arrested. New video appears to be what a former prosecutor in the case referred to in an email sent after his recusal. On April 7th, Ware County DA George Barnhill wrote there was, quote, video of Arbery burglarizing a home immediately preceding the chase and confrontation. At 2:08 in the video, you see a man in a white shirt and shorts walk into a home under construction on Satilla Drive. Moments later, a person can be seen in the top left frame observing what's going on. A 911 call from that day has audio of a man saying there's someone in a house that's under construction. At 2:13, the first man appears to run out the front door and down the street. 6 minutes later, a police car drives down the road. Multiple first responders arrive minutes later. Investigators have not said there is any evidence Arbery burglarized the home. Police reports following the shooting did not know anything stolen on Arbery. Greg McMichael told police the day of the shooting there had been several break-ins in the neighborhood and that a suspect was caught on surveillance video. Police records show only one report, a weapon stolen from a vehicle in January. It's also not clear why the police dispatch log and the video timestamp reflect times 1 hour apart. First Coast News has reached out to attorneys for AHMAUD Arbery's family asking if they've seen the video. We are waiting to hear from them. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation says this. They reviewed this video at the beginning of their investigation.
So you basically get the gist of what took place. All he was doing was going in to take a look at it. It actually was not the first time he did it. And also they have footage of a whole family going in there, a white family as well as white children going into that same house just to look around. The children are actually playing around in that property. And of course, you know, no police were called. But now I'm going to show you the actual run-in he had with the police, the harassment he had to deal with the police in 2017. And then after we watch this, Brother Alfonso, I want you to chime in on how you feel about, you know, just the fact of black life and black male life, particularly sisters too, but especially black men, and how we have to constantly deal with this and how important it is, speaking of the sisters, how important it is for us to support each other, knowing that we have to go through this kind of stuff on a regular basis. So keep that in mind immediately after we watch this footage.
You're not allowing me to search your car?
You can't go in my shit.
I'm not asking you. Just don't reach the car, man.
Get your hand out of your pocket.
Hands out of your pocket.
Hand out of your pocket. Down. Warning, down.
Stay on the ground. Just stay on the ground, okay? You off work today?
They're just rapping in the park.
Gotcha. You got an ID on you, man? Alright, thanks, man. Grab it with you, okay? Why am I fucking with you? You want to know why I'm fucking with you?
Why?
Keep your hand in your pocket.
I ain't got shit on me. What the fuck you fucking with me for?
I'll tell you why I'm here, man.
Why?
I'll tell you why I'm here. Because this area is known for drug activity.
Drug? How the fuck I'm drug activity when I work at Blue Beacon?
Back up.
Check my shit.
Back up.
The fuck you talking about?
You want to back up?
Fucking shit. Oh, boy.
Turn around and put your hands on the car.
Why?
Turn around, put your hands on the car.
Watch out, bro.
Turn around, put your hands on the car. I'm checking you for weapons. I'm checking you for weapons.
You got no reason to touch me, bro.
I'm not searching you. I'm checking you for weapons. All right, man? You don't have any warrants?
Weapons, bro.
I know, but you're coming up on me. Making me kind of nervous. Okay?
You bothering me for nothing. You can't go in my car.
You're not allowing me to search your car?
You can't go in my shit.
I'm not asking you. Just don't reach the car, man.
Get your hand out of your pocket.
Hands out of your pocket.
Hand out of your pocket. Down. Warning, down.
Stay on the ground. Just stay on the ground, okay?
Keep your hands out. No, keep your hands out.
I've already checked him for weapons. I've checked him for weapons.
Okay. I'm trying to ease my mind. I'm rapping. I rap, bro. Okay.
A route.
I got you, man. But when you run up on me and you get really jumpy, that's gonna make me nervous too.
Aggravate my day. I got 1 day off a week. 1 day.
Okay.
1 day off a week. I'm trying to chill on my day off, bro. I'm up early in the morning trying to chill.
He was very aggravated.
Malfunction?
Yeah, that was.
I tried to tase him.
You did try to tase him?
Yeah.
It got to the point where you had to tase
Well,
him?
it was. I didn't realize he'd already patted him down for weapons, and I could see there's like a wallet or something, and I could see him going like that, and he had a big heavy coat on, and he just wasn't moving fast enough.
Wow. Especially the little conversation that the police was having at the end. I'm going to touch on that in a moment. But Brother Alfonso, like I said, just give your overall account and overall opinion about that footage that we just saw regarding him and an old run-in. And that's just one that they caught on video. How you feel about that, dear brother?
Yes, sir. One thing that I will say honestly that I did appreciate coming from the police side, and I don't want y'all to think that, I'm taking any sides, but one thing that I do appreciate is they didn't actually taser him, or they didn't actually pull out a gun and shoot the brother. Because we have seen time and time again black men being shot for things smaller than that. The brother was obviously upset, and he was using a little bit of profanity, and that's no real justified reason to shoot and kill somebody. But I do appreciate the fact that they didn't pull out their guns and shoot and kill the brother. But again, just seeing that taking place, shows improved black men's everyday reality here in the hills and wilderness of North America, because white folks don't have to deal with situations like that. And any original man, whether you be Mexican, or black, this is our everyday reality. It's where you just minding your own business, and you got white police officers, they just gotta stop you and pull you over, and time after again, when there are many brothers and sisters who are gunned down unjustly by crooked and corrupt police officers and white men, time and time again, we have mainly the majority of black women on the front lines fighting for our behalf. So now is the time to look at the Ahmaud Arbery situation, look at the Breonna Taylor situation, another unfortunate situation that took place in our community, that now it's time for more black men who don't even consider themselves a part of the conscious community to stand up, man, against injustice wherever we see it that's taking place within our community, against our people, because they're killing us with immunity. And we have to take a strong stand, because the killers who killed Ahmaud Arbery, these white devils, did nothing happen to these devils until 72 days later. So it took about a little bit over 2 months just for these devils just to be charged with a murder. These devils was walking around, going to the grocery store, going to the gas station, and they was just living their everyday lives as if nothing happened, because the corrupt government there in Georgia, who are recently and currently being investigated now by internal affairs for drug possessions and sleeping with informants and all type of corrupt stuff, are just now being investigated. Okay, and these are the individuals who did nothing to these people who murdered our dear brother Ahmaud Arbery. Back to you, Brother Landon. correction, he did try to tase him, but the taser
Absolutely
didn't work.
did,
Thank
brother.
you,
I
Sherilyn
agree.
Giles.
I agree. And for me, the thing that bothered me was, and like Sister Ava said, it's not a training issue with these devils as far as police are concerned. Keep in mind, Ahmaud Arbery, he was murdered by one cracker who was a former police officer, but they were just private citizens who murdered him. But with police officers, particularly the white ones, it's in their nature to want to hunt us. It's in their nature to want to kill us. But I find it interesting that there was such a lack of communication. I mean, as FOI, we're taught to communicate, and as soon as he got on the scene, he just assumed that he had a weapon. I'm talking about the second officer that showed up, that he had a weapon. He assumed that, he hadn't already been checked. So they weren't even communicating with each other. And because of that lack of communication, our brother could have got killed. But one thing that I wanted to touch on real quick is the fact that this brings something to mind that's really troublesome, is that every time we have a brother or sister that's murdered, in this kind of way, the first thing the media does, the first thing, white people in general does or do, is that they go and they try to find a flaw in that brother or sister's past. They try to find something about them, like Trayvon Martin. They put it out there that he smoked weed. Ooh, whoop-de-doo. You got dispensaries on every corner, but they always digging into something for some reason to try to pull something out. But here's what really bothers me about that. It's not even the fact that white people do it. It's not even the fact that the white-controlled and Jewish-controlled media does it. What bothers me is that we become so much the children of these white people mentally that we do that same thing with each other. And I know, Brother Alfonso, you can bear me witness, especially as you spoke on the conscious community. We've adopted this same mentality to where if there's a brother or even a sister that comes to our people, with a good message, with a strong organization, a strong movement, to better our people, better our communities, better our families, the first thing we try to do, using deceptive intelligence and also using what we got from our mental, slave fathers, the white man, is that we try to find flaws in each other. We try to find flaws in each other. And it brings to mind, Lost Found Muslim lesson number 1. Question number 3, why did we let half original Columbus discover the poor part of the planet Earth? And the answer to that is, because the original man is the God of the earth and knows every square inch of it. And he saved the best part for himself. He does not care about the poor part. See, when you reach that God mentality that every Aboriginal, black, brown, and so forth, when we reach that God mentality, we won't even get to the point where we're looking for a brother or sister's flaw, especially when all they're asking is for us to hear them out. But that's what we do. That's something that, every man or woman who's ever tried to help or lead or even just assist the black man, they've fallen under that same sword where it's like, okay, yeah, Brother Will, I heard y'all did this, I heard y'all did, well, I ain't really with this, and that's the same move that you see, our mental slave fathers do every time one of us is murdered. Tell me what you think about that and that deceptive intelligence that we have inherited from this white man. I know you got to get on that hookup with brother Iliad Rashad, but before you take off, tell me how you feel about that whole thing, how we've taken on the mind of our former slave master and in some cases our current slave master of of settling on the poor part of each other, because that's what bothers me. Not just the fact that the white man settles on the poor part, that's his nature, going all the way back to Columbus. But tell me how you feel about that, Brother Alfonso, as far as us inheriting that from him.
I think it goes back all the way back to Willie Lynch. Willie Lynch had installed that type of mentality in us. The old versus the young, the dark skin versus the light skin. And we have carried that type of mentality all the way with us in 2020. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us in the Nation of Islam and his students to look past people's faults and see what they need. You know what I mean? And when you think like that, you are more understanding, you are more merciful, and you are a good listener at this point to see what's going on and where people, and you know how to talk to people and communicate people where they are. And I think that's what makes the Nation of Islam and its members so effective when it comes to relationships with the brothers and sisters in the communities that we come out of, to where we're able to meet our brothers and sisters where they are. The racist police and the racist devils that come into our community, they don't know how to meet our people where they are. So they come into the community guns blazing. Same thing with the Breonna Taylor situation. That whole situation could have been prevented. They was looking for an individual who was selling dope, and they had a warrant out on her address. But the person that they were looking for, didn't even live at the address that she was at. So they just kicked in the door, and out of fear, her boyfriend, began shooting because he didn't know who was kicking in their door, and she ended up getting shot about 8 to 10 times or something like that, and dying and losing her life over nothing. So again, that's all the enemy does. Same thing with the other young brother that you have on the screen. I can't think of the brother's name off top right now, but again, with his situation, they had miscommunication with him, and they said that he had kidnapped a young white girl and he was holding her hostage in the house, and instead of doing a proper investigation, a white armed mob that was led by a deputy sheriff. He's an ex-deputy sheriff now because he was fired from the sheriff department. But they were led by a sheriff's deputy, a white armed mob, and they was trying to drag this young brother out of his house and lynch him in North Carolina. So again, we have inherited the mind of white supremacy, but we have groups like the Nation of Islam to teach our people, knowledge of self, so they can be able to accept their own and become themselves once again, because we are acting other than ourselves, but with a little knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and time and patience, we can get back to who we truly are. So I'll pass it back to you, Brother Landon.
Absolutely, dear brother. And Brother Alfonso, I know you got to get on that other live hookup with our brother Eliab Rashad out of Memphis. But when you got to check out, go ahead and check out, dear brother. Thank you for coming on. Y'all get used to this. NationTown TV, we back, in full effect. Malcolm Flex, your brother, Brother Landon X. And we got a second part to this that we're going to touch on as well. I don't know if Brother Alfonso will have the time to touch on it. But I will say this about this topic, dealing with Ahmaud Arbery. As I said before, when I was going off of the our Supreme Wisdom lessons, which actually, you know, tells us about settling on the best part versus the worst part. And it's just a reminder, because the thing I always try to do, and family, y'all know this from following NationTown TV, you know, we can't really deal with the nature of this devil. You know, he is what he is. He on his way out. I mean, scientifically, he's on his. If you love white people, this is gonna be a bad, you know, next couple 100 years for you, because he's on the way out. You know, he's got a negative birth rate, which means that there are more white people dying than are being born, even though they got the most money, the best health care, you know, that money can buy. They control almost all the governments, but they're dying more than they're being born, and that lets you know whose side God is on, but I ain't gonna go there. But anyway, you know, if that's what you like, if you like them, that's fine. If you love them, that's cool. But the issue is the fact that we take on their mind. And if we take on their mind, that puts us in a situation where even after he's gone, he'll still be here. And keep in mind, we're the ones that brought him here in the first place. If you know the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as it pertains to Yaqub, which has become a very commonly known thing in the so-called conscious community. Assalamu alaikum to brother Alfonso. I got your message, dear brother. Appreciate you coming on. We're gonna work out that audio situation and get it back cracking next time. We might even do a show later this week together. But, you know, that's the issue that bothers me, you know, because this white man is like a snake. He's like a spider. You know, when you see a spider or a snake, you know, you don't try to reason with them. You don't see a spider and a snake and say, you know what, let me sit down and talk to this python and see if I can get them to see things my way, and maybe they won't bite me. Maybe they won't eat rats. Maybe this spider won't spin a web if I sit down and really talk to him and pray for him and all this kind of stuff. You don't do that with a rat or a spider. You know, you either avoid them, get away from them, or you deal with them. You know, you can even look at it like the weather. When it's raining outside, you don't try to reason with the sky. You don't try to reason with the raindrops and try to talk the raindrops from falling. You don't do that. You just put on a raincoat and go about your day, or get an umbrella and go about your day. So that's my issue with this whole situation, is the fact that, you know, we are showing that we're taking on the mind of this white man. I forgot to shout out all the viewers chiming in. Assalamu alaikum to everybody. Brother Raheem Al-Shamari, Brother LeVar Anderson, Vincent Allen, my brother Delanton, my queen, Shauna Joy X, Sister Majidas, Assalamu alaikum, Miles 27, Yusuf Ali. Just shout out to everybody chiming in. Shirley Ann Giles, you know, everybody, Kaheem McDuffie. Definitely hit us up with your comments and questions as we move forward to the next part of our topic, where we're going to deal with the issue, the controversy that's been cracking lately with our brother known as Lil Boosie. But before we get there, I'm going to close out this particular topic from hearing from the man that gave me life and has given literally probably millions of brothers and sisters out there, whether they officially joined the Nation of Islam or not. He's given them life and seen them and given them a way to see life more abundantly. But I'm speaking of none other than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We're going to hear from him on the topic of dealing with white people and how they deal with us. So I want you to listen carefully to the minister and what he's saying.
Now, by bringing him out of us biologically, then that biological and psychological characteristic of the Caucasian is such that he fears that from which he came, and he subconsciously knows he's dealing with his superior, although he tries to make you believe at every turn you are his inferior. And if you watch him in certain social situations, he's totally upset, and he responds attitudinally to your presence. You think he's responding because a nigger has come in the room. And in a sense, you're right. But the Caucasian is also responding to the fact that there's something about you that he just doesn't quite understand on the common level, though the ones at the top know and understand well.
So there it is. That's the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan breaking down the nature of this dude and the fact that he knows who you are. Even if we don't know who we are, he knows who we are. You know, it's like, you know, they say when the cat's away, the mouse will play. And what happens when the cat comes back? Look at how defensive and how scared the cat gets. In almost every animal and species in the animal kingdom, just in creation, when they feel threatened, they usually are at their most violent. They're usually at their most dangerous. You know, when an animal is about to die, I just told you about that negative birth rate. When an animal is about to die, that's when they're at their most dangerous. So what we can't do is sit around protesting and crying and trying to deal with them and trying to, you know, reason with them. We just got to deal with ourselves and make sure that we are putting ourselves in a position where when we die, when we are murdered, I should say, the world is not looking at it like, you know, it's just a dead dog in the middle of the street. This is a world right now that cares more about a dead dog in the middle of the street or a dead dog at a kennel or some dog fighting ring. Shout out to Michael Vick. That cares more about a dead dog than it cares about a dead black man. And the only way we can truly change our reputation in the world is not by trying to be nicer to white people or getting closer to white people or being more like white people, not in the silly ways that we try to be like white people, but it's by, you know, accepting our own and being ourselves, separating, supporting our own businesses, supporting our own schools, you know, supporting just our own existence. You know, to the point where people look at us, you know, just like you look at the Jews, just like you look at Asians, just like you look at other communities. You look at them and you respect them, and you know that if you go into their communities kicking up dust, if you go into their communities kicking down their door, disrespecting their women, it's going to be hell to pay, and the whole world will see you, you know, as the enemy and as the bad guy. Right now, the way it looks when we're murdered is that, oh, just one less nigga. Just one less raccoon, just one less dog, just one less cat, just one less whatever. That's so. And the only way, and we've always thought our way to change that narrative is by pleasing some white man or being pleasing to white people. You know, oh, I want to, you know, appear to white people to be, you know, non-threatening and to be intelligent. And, you know, if they ask me if I like rap music, I'll tell them, no, I listen to classical music. We do stuff like that. But the real way of doing it is accepting our own and being amongst ourselves and building amongst ourselves. That's how you get respect in the world. And that's how you are less likely to have to deal with this devil's wrath. But like I said, we're dealing with a nature. We're dealing with a nature. We're not dealing with an opinion. When white people say they hate us, when white people act like they hate us, when they murder us, that's not an opinion. That's not the way they were raised. We're talking about a nature. And until we come to terms with that, I know some of y'all, that's hard for some of y'all to swallow. I get it. But until we come to terms with that, you notice we done did everything else. We didn't sing, we didn't protest, we didn't try to befriend them, we tried to love them, tried to marry them, tried to send our children to their schools, tried to live in their neighborhood. Every time we move in their neighborhoods, they move out. You know, everything we've tried has not worked. And the one man that they claim that they like the most, as far as our leaders are concerned, they killed him too, and that's Dr. Martin Luther King, and he was as peaceful can be. So, you know, separation is the only thing we haven't, you know, successfully and made a real concerted effort to do, and that's the only thing left to do. And really, even if this white man turned into an angel overnight, even if every white person and white police officer you ran into, you know, literally kissed your behind, we should still be striving to separate. They do. The Jews do. Asians do. You know, even some of our Hispanic brothers are smart enough to do it. So separation and just, you know, being amongst our own and accepting our own, it don't mean harming anybody else. It just means loving yourself. But with that said, family, assalamu alaikum to everybody chiming in. We're going to move on to the next part of our program. Now we're going to deal with this this situation real quick that pertains with brother Boosie. Lil Boosie first. Shout out to Boosie Boo first and foremost. But Boosie first, you know, made a splash on this particular topic. For those that don't know, let me just get a rundown. For those that don't know, Boosie was on, I believe, Instagram Live. You know, he's become a internet superstar lately, and you know, he made a comment. I was gonna play the video, but it was, you know, this is Ramadan, and it was, you know, too much flagrant language. But I just say, he pointed out that with his sons and his nephews, he was the one that facilitated them losing their virginity. You know, he's the one that would send women to them. You know, being a rap star, you know, rap stars have access to women like a mechanic has access to a toolbox, unfortunately. But, you know, so he was the one that was sending women to his nephews, to his sons, and all of that, you know. And, you know, I guess in his mind, to make them more, you know, manly, or to make them more, you know, to make sure that they some people even use deceptive intelligence and say, you know what, I'm going to help my child have sex so I know who they're having sex with. There are parents that really believe that. But to backtrack a little bit, before he said this, I think last week, about his sons and revealed this information that he basically let grown women have their way with his sons and nephews. Before that, you know, he was one of the celebrities that piled on to brother Dwayne Wade about his son, Dwayne Wade's son, who, as some of you may or may not know, has come out as, I don't know, gay, bisexual, transgender, whatever. There was even talk about, you know, him having a sex change, and Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union supporting that. And a lot of people got real judgmental and you know, said, you know, Dwayne Wade, don't let, you know, don't cut your son's balls off and all of this kind of stuff. And and Boosie was one of the most vocal ones, you know, against that whole concept. You know, and Boosie was also, even before that, he was on Vlad TV. And I really wish Boosie wouldn't be on Vlad TV so much, because I don't trust Vlad. He's a culture vulture, as Dame Dash would say. He's a white man who really, you know, is living off of our ignorance, you know, and because if you notice, Vlad TV, whenever he interviews anybody, he either talks about something savage, or he eggs them on to talk about some kind of rap beef or something like that. He'll even bring up old rap beefs that have long passed on, you know. So I ain't really with Vlad on that. But with Boosie also pointed out something that was very true. He pointed out that there are cartoons now that are promoting, you know, homosexual lifestyle, and he was right about that. So first, he made the comments about the cartoons, which was 100% true. Then he gave his opinion on Dwayne Wade and him and his wife supporting their sons, whatever you want to call it. And then it was this situation with him, you know, admitting to the world proudly that he let, you know, or he actually facilitated grown women having their way with his sons and his nephews. He made it clear. He said you can ask any of his nephews, his sons, how they got their first piece, and they'll say big dog, which I guess means Boosie. Now, first, let me just say, musically, I'm somewhat of a fan of Boosie. You know, he's got his own style. You got to say his music is very catchy. You know, he's a lot smarter, a lot more intelligent than he comes off as, and if you listen to some of the things he says. But it goes back to what Brother Alfonso was saying when he was on the show a moment ago. You know, we come to our people where they are. You know, we come to where they are. We shouldn't be throwing each other away, especially not believers. But black people in general, we shouldn't be throwing each other. That whole cancel movement, cancel this person, cancel because they said something that we didn't like. We, you know, if you didn't cancel Dwayne Wade, you can't cancel Brother Boosie. But I'm gonna look at it as we do on NationTown TV, especially how I do. I'm gonna look at it from another angle, and this angle is going to upset some people. It might even, you know, make some of our NationTown viewers mad. It may even make Boosie mad. It may even make Dwayne Wade mad, because it's kind of there's a third way to look at this. It ain't just the Boosie way or the Dwayne Wade way. It ain't just, okay, let your sons be, you know, basically, essentially, legally molested, you know, by a woman, a grown woman who's probably a stripper or something like it. Or, you know, let your son run around with a dress on. That, you know, there is a middle ground, and there's also another concept to consider. But before we get into that, we're gonna take a quick break. And just like that, we back. Now, as I said, I have a take on the whole situation with Boosie as well as Dwayne Wade that, you know, other people might not look at it as or even understand. And this opinion is really not an opinion. It's actually a very educated estimation of our condition as a people. When you look in the Bible, especially the New Testament, the first book of the New Testament, it tells you that, you know, Jesus wasn't some magical thing that just fell out the sky. You know, it tells you his whole lineage. It says so-and-so begat so-and-so, and so-and-so begat him, and begat them, and begat. Just go to the book of Matthew, the beginning of the book of Matthew. I'm not going into the Bible. I'm just using it as an example of the word begat. How something can begat, or something can lead to, or something can give birth to, or conceive the next thing. There's always a lineage to everything. There's a lineage not only to people, there's a lineage to problems. Problems don't just fall out the sky. You know, they started somewhere. There was a root to that problem, you know, that grew over time, that festered, you know, like a bacteria, like a disease. But let's look at what begat Dwayne Wade's situation with his son. His son, you know, thinks it's cool that, you know, he feels like he's a woman. His parents are behind him 100%. You know, and then we see homosexuality in full display in the media. Is pushed more than anything. It's pushed more than, you know, homosexuality is pushed harder than black humanity. Think about that. Homosexuality is pushed harder in the media than black humanity. Now, but what's the lineage of that? How did that start? Did that just fall out the sky? If you think it just fell out the sky, then you're as wrong as Dwayne Wade is. Or if you think Boosie is wrong, you're more wrong than Boosie. You're more wrong than Donald Trump. You dead wrong if you think homosexuality and the way it's being promoted, you know, transgenderism and all of that. If you think it just fell out the sky, everybody was cool, every man was masculine, every woman was doing what a woman's supposed to do, and then just all of a sudden, you know, we tripped over something, and by the time we got up, it was homosexuals everywhere. It did not work like that. And the reason why I got this picture up right now of Boosie and Dwayne Wade is because if I was writing this down in my own little Bible, I would say that what you heard last week from Lil Boosie, that mentality begat the mentality that you have with Dwayne Wade and his son. What are you talking about, Brother Landon? Let's look at it like this. First of all, let's look at homosexuality and our children being confused about gender. Let's look at it for what it actually is on the surface. It's just the simplest way to look at it is our people behaving and thinking other than themselves. As Master Father Muhammad, God in the person, said, we just behaving other than ourselves. You know, it's like the old saying, when it rains, it pours. Well, let's look at it like this. How long have we been other than ourselves? I mentioned the disease earlier. I mentioned bacteria. When you let bacteria fester, you know, it begins to grow and take shape. You know, you begin to see mold. When bacteria first, takes a foothold, you don't even see it. It's so microscopic, you don't even see bacteria. That's why we all running around with gloves and masks on when we out in public, because we're afraid of a bacteria that we can't see. But most bacteria, when they actually fester for a while, they turn into something that can be seen. COVID-19, it turns into something that you can see. You can see somebody coughing and getting sick and sweating and having flu-like symptoms, and then you can see them when they pass away. You can see their funeral. You can see their casket. You know, I'm not making light of that. You know, may Allah be pleased with all those that we have lost in this pandemic. But every bacteria will work its way up to a point where it can be seen. And our problem is we don't speak on the bacteria until it gets to the point where it can be seen. But in this analogy, it actually could be seen. Tell me this, is the black man killing another black man, is that the nature of the black man? Or is that the black man being other than himself? Is the black man constantly going in and out of prison? Is that the nature of the black man, or is that the black man being other than himself? I know the system is stacked up against us. I know about the crime bill. I know about 3 strikes you're out, you know. But why were we even surprised by that? You know, we should have known by the 1990s, after 400 years of oppression, that this white man was capable of that. But we have even sensationalized going to prison. There's some of us, I'm just keeping 100%. It's some brothers and sisters out there who don't even respect you unless you did some kind of time. They don't even want to hear you. You know, we still have a culture in our communities where if one brother comes home from college, you know, everybody in the neighborhood, well, I won't say everybody, but most of the people in the neighborhood are looking at him like, oh, he think he better than us. And then if another one comes home from prison, it's a barbecue. It's a block party. That's still our mutated culture in our communities. Now tell me, is it our culture, is it our nature to have single parent households, majority of which are just the mother in the household? Is that our nature? You know, I drove past this billboard, you know, today, this random billboard, and had a picture of a black family. And lo and behold, it was a mama, a daughter, and a son, and they all hugged up. And it's supposed to represent the black family. When did that become our nature? It's not our nature. It's our condition. So let's add it up. Black man killing black man being incarcerated. There are more black male inmates in prison right now than there were black slaves, male or female, in the year 1800. More black prisoners right now, male prisoners, than there were black slaves in America in the year 1800. I mean, think about that. Think about that. Now, is any of that our culture? Is walking around with our pants sagging? Is that our nature? You know, looking at prison as a rite of passage in our community, is that our nature? Killing each other, is that our nature? So you when you so far from your nature and you keep stepping further and further from your nature over the years to the point where you glorify it, let's face it, we glorify prison. We glorify prison culture. We love, you know, we think a brother who killed so-and-so amount of brothers, sold so-and-so amount of dope to his own people. We think, oh yeah, he a real one. He reputable. That's what they say out here in LA. Oh, he reputable. It's really reputable, but they pronounce it reputable. Oh, he a real one. So if that's not us, then what makes you think that it won't fester into something else that's not us? So I love my brother Boosie. I love him to death, you know, and I agree somewhat with what he said about Dwayne Wade and being supportive of his son, wanting to change his gender, you know, and I really see this homosexual agenda that's being perpetuated. Now they're in our schools, you know, there are chemicals in the food. I mean, it's all over the place. I feel you, brother Boosie, but the culture that you hold high and proud was one of the steps that led to this. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. I thank Allah that brother Boosie, based on, you know, from what I heard, some serious mistakes by the prosecution, he was able to come home, I believe, in 2014 or 2015, and he was going to spend the rest of his life in prison on a murder beef. You know, and I thank Allah he was able to come home and be a father to his children. When I see footage of him dealing with his sons, I really do see, you know, what's a brother who appears to be a good father overall. Perfect? Of course not. I bet your daddy wasn't perfect. I know mine wasn't. I don't know much about him. But even if you woke up every day in your childhood with your father in the other room, I guarantee you he wasn't perfect. And if you thought he was, you better ask your mama or your auntie or somebody. They'll tell you the true story. But overall, he's a good father. He's there. He's got a strong influence on his children. I was looking at a photo of his children, of his sons recently, and I noticed, I wish I would have got that photo to show you guys. But if you notice, something about Boosie that a lot of people don't notice. You know, if you grew up in the 90s, you'll feel me on this. Despite all the changes in the fashion and the trends, Boosie still dressed like a 90s brother in the hood. You know, he ain't let go of the white tee, you know, the Jordans, you know, the Boosie fade, the hot top. He never let go of the hot top fade, never. When everybody else had cornrows and all that in the early 2000s, he had the Boosie fade. He had the hot top fade. But when you see pictures of his sons, children always follow the latest trends. It's hard to keep a child from following the latest trends. You know, if the trend is to be walking around with hair on one side of your head and bald on the other, your children gonna be begging you, mama, let me cut half of my head. That's just how children are. But when you look at Boosie's children, they dress just like him. So that tells you that they look up to him. They look up to him and they love their father. So overall, he appears to be a good father. But the culture that he perpetuates in his music, I got to call a spade a spade. It's the culture that led to so many homosexual black. I'm not necessarily saying it led to Dwayne Wade's son, because Dwayne Wade's son, most of his life, if not all his life, was with a silver spoon. But hip-hop culture goes far past the ghetto. So don't think that hip-hop culture is just in the ghetto. In fact, most of these rappers would be making school teacher money if they only were able to sell in the ghetto. Let's just keep it real. They're selling tickets, concert tickets, and albums to predominantly white people and predominantly children growing up in the suburbs or growing up in an environment that's nothing like the environments that they rap about. So that culture led to the culture we're at now. The culture of, you know, sisters saying, I can do bad all by myself. I don't need no man. You know, niggas ain't That culture led to Dwayne Wade's son and Magic Johnson's son and every brother you see out in public, young brother walking around with his wrist broke. You know, that was a situation that begat that. And the fact that we were cool with that, we were cool with a single parent household. And a lot of us still are. We cool with, you know, with our sons, you know, not being able to be men. And manhood is not about, you know, letting some stripper, you know, have their way with your son. You know, it's little things that I see a lot of parents do, and I thank Allah that my mother didn't do it. But there's little things that we see, like, you know, parents being, you know, a mother being too, you know, protective of their son, or letting their son hang around them too much. That's something my mother and my older sisters never did. They never let me follow them around too much, you know, because after a while that child will start taking on the mannerisms, you know, of their grandmother, of their mother, of their, you know, so they always let me go out and play and all of that. So the things that we have accepted over the last 40, 50 years have led to the things that we don't accept. We finally see the bacteria for what it is. Now the stench has reached the nostrils, you know, of the people of God. And so when I looked at this whole situation with Boosie, and then I looked at the situation with Dwayne Wade, I said, damn, one thing led to the other. Shout out to everybody chiming in. Assalamu alaikum. My uncle, Uncle Darnell, assalamu alaikum. True Love Allah. Kenneth Marcus, Shirley Ann Giles, shout out to everybody touching in. But, you know, I just wanted to touch on this situation with Boosie. And to the people watching and that will watch this and feel some kind of way about either one of these brothers, you know, I implore you, don't throw either one of them away. You know, you're not perfect, they're not perfect. I definitely don't agree with Dwayne Wade and what he's doing. You know, that is his son, you know. You know, and for the people who will say, well, that's their business. And it's a contingent of people saying that about Dwayne Wade and Lil Boosie. That's their business. Don't try to tell them how to raise their son. Don't try. And that right there is a symptom of the problem. Because we don't have a village no more. You know, we used to have a village. I think I'm probably I probably come from the last generation. If you were raised in the 80s and 90s, you probably are the last generation of children who could very well, you know, get your butt beat, you know, by your next door neighbor, by Mr. So-and-so across the street, by somebody, you know what I mean? Or your auntie, you know what I mean? It's that kind of stuff you don't really see no more. You know, a woman will fight her own sister for trying to discipline, you know, her child. You know, but that idea that, you know, we don't let the village, and it's actually more important now to let the village, you know, at least assist us in raising our children than it was 50, 60 years ago. Because now, you know, 70% of our households or more are single parent households. You know, it's not only single parent, but if it's a single parent, that means that mother, you know, and sometimes it's a father, they have to work even harder. So they're not even at home that much. So now it's even more important for the village to raise your child, for Miss Emma down the street to have some say-so, for Mr. Johnson around the corner to have say-so. But now we in this culture where, oh, don't touch my babies. Don't, you know, you see that kind of stuff. So to all those saying, you know, that, you know, we should all just mind our own business, I don't really agree with that either. We should voice our opinion, but, you know, don't throw these brothers away. Don't throw either one of them away, because, you know, we got to meet our people where they are and just be a better example. Be the clean glass. In the Nation of Islam, we believe in what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, which is the clean glass concept. And with the clean glass concept, the messenger taught Malcolm X, and you know, today is Malcolm's birthday. You know, shout out to Malcolm. But he taught Malcolm, you know, that you don't have to condemn a dirty glass. All you have to do is take a clean glass of water, sit it next to that dirty glass, and the people will make the obvious choice. They'll make the better choice, which is that clean glass. But, you know, we shouldn't get to the point where we're afraid to voice our opinions about what's going on. But that's the main thing I wanted to point out, You know, but before we go any further and before we close out, first of all, I want to thank everybody for watching. Make sure y'all tuning in. We're going to be doing a lot more shows. Also, make sure you hit us up on patreon.com/NationTown. As soon as you subscribe to that, you'll automatically get $5 off plus 10% off as long as you're a subscriber to NationTownStore.com. But many of you may be familiar with the book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 6, where it says, train up a child in the way that they should go. I'm sure everybody watching this has heard that before, or you were raised in the church and you heard that before, so you know how that goes. But pay attention to one part of it that bears witness to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. In that Bible verse, it says, train up a child in the way that he should go. Now, we all know children come in two genders. You know, nowadays they're trying to teach us that there are 15, 20 genders. No, that ain't the way God set it up. It's two genders. But I find it interesting that in this particular verse of the Bible, it says, train up a child in the way that he should go. He. Why not she? Why just he? You know, I noticed that the other day and I said, man, why not she? In the Nation of Islam, we're taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that there is no such thing, and brothers gonna get mad when they hear this if you never heard it before, but there's no such thing as a no good woman. And the reason being is because every no good woman was made no good by a no good man. Now that man doesn't necessarily mean a black man. That man could be the white man and what he's done to us, depending on how you look at it. But either way, it was the environment and the circumstances that a man put together that has put some of our sisters in the mentality that they're in. So it's so much more important how we deal with male children. Now, it's important to deal with female children. Don't mess up what I'm saying. You know, in fact, when you teach a female, you teach an entire nation. When you teach your son or a young man, you just teaching an individual. However, you're talking about an individual that's going to be the backbone of the household. So with the Dwayne Wade situation and with the Boosie situation, we're talking about the raising up of a young man or young men in general. But I found it interesting that in that Proverbs 22:6, it says, train up the child in the way that he should go. And I don't think he was put in there, by accident or just by happenstance, because it actually is important the way we train up, a young man. We can't send prostitutes or strippers to them to help them, lose their virginity. I saw something that was very profound. Y'all know I like to, mention stuff I see on social media. A brother posted that, it's a difference between, I think he said it's a difference between experiencing sex and having sex. And he said it was very traumatic for him to have experienced sex, because he basically felt like, because he had lost his virginity to an older woman who was much older. And he felt like it was an experience so much, as opposed to something that he did. And so for a child, for a little boy, that's not the way to learn about a woman. Think about what you're putting in his head. You sent a woman to him, and her only purpose, and he probably never saw that woman again after that experience. So he's going to grow up with that idea of a woman in his head. They just somebody that come into my life to please me for a few minutes, and then, I'm done with it. And then we're going to wonder, he's going to go on and, like we even joke around when we see a little young man, 4 or 5 years old. Oh, he's going to be a heartbreaker. Oh, he's going to break a lot of hearts. Look at him. Oh, he's so handsome. We are raising children up to have that kind of, young boys that have that kind of mentality. And then when we see a household like the Wades, where they're saying, okay, son, it's okay for you to think that you're a woman. And that actually lends to the first topic dealing with Ahmaud Arbery and the fact that, you know, a young black man or a black man in general is basically a hunted species. So to a lot of parents, they think they're somehow, you know, they're protecting their children by, you know, by them being homosexual. You know, they think that that's probably a protection for them. Well, you know, I wish he would bring home a wife and stuff, but, well, maybe I don't have to worry about him getting shot. You know, ain't too many homosexual gangbangers, you know what I mean? Or you think, you know. So it just, everything begets the next thing. None of this stuff is falling out the sky. It's all a product of the actual environment that we live in, this beast in his world that's going out. But it ain't going out fast enough. And we got to push it out. The last bit of his life, we got to push it out, and we don't have to harm him. We don't have to touch him. We definitely don't need to be protesting. We don't need to be begging. We don't need to be groveling. We don't need to be trying to reason with him. All we have to do is do what that beautiful man, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, and that is accept our own and be ourselves and continue to follow the example of brothers like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And, you know, and I'm going to end on this note. If you're not familiar with COINTELPRO is, you know, that's the counterintelligence program that was created by, you know, J. Edgar Hoover. But the whole mission statement of COINTELPRO was to stop the rise of a black messiah. So I'm going to go back to the Bible again, and also Quran. Whenever the word messiah is mentioned in scripture, you know, it's never mentioned as a woman. So if he's talking about stopping it, this was his words, J. Edgar Hoover, the founder of the FBI. He said he wanted to stop the rise of a black messiah. When you look up the definition of the word messiah, it just means a leader of the people of God. You know, a leader of the Jews. And we all know we're the real Jews. But, you know, the leader of a people. What's so bad about us having a messiah? The issue is he knows that once we have a messiah and we recognize him for what he is, then we'll start to wake up. But if he's going to stop the rise of a black messiah, he's going to do it not just with phone taps, not just with propaganda. He's also going to do it by breaking up our communities, breaking up our family, and changing the narrative and also the reputation of the black man. You know, nobody's going to follow, you know, a black man who's a whoremonger, which is what Boosie, you know, is at risk of putting his child on. You know, nobody's going to truly follow a black man who doesn't even want to be a black man, who wants to be a black woman or whatever the hell he wants to be. So all these things lead to, you know, stopping the rise of a black messiah. And when you look at how our homes have been destroyed, when you look at how, you know, the black male mind has been destroyed, as well as the black female mind, it makes it hard for us to even trust another black man, to even trust a black man that comes to us with just a weighty word and a message to wake us up. We think he's a thief or a robber. He's trying to get over on us in some kind of way. He's trying to get some money out of it. He's trying to do this. He's trying to do that. You know, all these questions in our mind that we never ask to this white man who's been doing all of that for 400 years. We just keep throwing our money at him. We keep trusting him with our children. We want to send our children to his school. We trust him with our lives. You know, we love it when the doctor walk in the room and it's a white man. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Brother walk in the door, especially if the brother walk in the door and he talk like me, you know, and he talk like a brother who's really a brother, you start getting nervous, like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen to me. I don't know if I'm going to make it out this hospital room. You know, we really trust this man, you know, and we have a distrust for each other. And all of that was placed in us by years and years of not only oppression, but also us being other than ourselves. Being other than ourselves, and that stops the rise of a black messiah, and that in turn stops the rise of black people in general. So we got to get to the point where we're nipping it in the bud, no matter what it is that's against our nature. Homosexuality is not our nature. Gang banging is not our nature. We're born warriors, but dying over blocks and neighborhoods that we don't own nothing on, that Jews and Koreans own, that's not our nature. We are truly territorial people. You know, we truly control our territory. You know, killing each other, robbing each other, mean mugging each other, that's not our nature. So until we turn that nature around and take it back to where we go, as they say, Sankofa, look back and get it. In fact, if you look into the word religion, the real meaning of the word, the etymology of the word religion, not what the white man taught you religion is. A lot of y'all, when y'all bang on religion and diss religion, what you're really doing is just showing that the white man has controlled the way your mind thinks. If you just crack open a dictionary and go into the etymology of religion, you find out that the word, when you break it down to its Latin etymology, it actually just means anything that you come back to and constantly do. So we got to change our Sankofa and change our religion and go back to our nature. And then we ain't got to worry about these Boosie situations. We ain't got to worry about these Dwayne Wade situations. And we can celebrate the rise of a black Messiah. But with that said, dear family, I appreciate y'all hearing us out. Next Tuesday, we're going to be back on with Brother Alfonso X. We're going to do other shows in between then. We got some other things coming up. Ramadan is about to end. Ramadan Mubarak. To everybody that's watching, all my Muslim brothers and sisters, y'all all Muslim, whether y'all know it or not. This is the night of power. This is the night of power. If you don't know what that means, the night of power basically represents the night where Prophet Muhammad got the first revelation of the Holy Quran. You know, and it's also known as the night of majesty, because the Arabic language cannot be properly fit into the English language. You know, it's kind of like a square peg in a round hole. But night of majesty, night of power. So Ramadan Mubarak to everybody watching. Stay tuned for our next episode. But on Tuesdays, be on the lookout for myself and Brother Alfonso X, also known as Malcolm Flex. And before we get out of here, we also, I'm implore you to go to his YouTube page and subscribe to Malcolm Flex TV on YouTube. Also NationTown. Listen, if you on NationTown Facebook, but you not on NationTown YouTube, and you not on NationTown Patreon, man, you faking the funk, man. You losing in life. But definitely hit up Malcolm Flex. But I leave y'all as I greeted y'all in the words of peace. Thank you for your time. Your time is is one of the most valuable things that you can give somebody, because once you give it to them, you can't get it back. So with that said, I leave you as I greeted you in the words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
I was told to deliver this message.
Assalamu alaikum, Islam, Shalom, Maya, Namaste, and Hotep. This is your brother, Malcolm Flex TV. And if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please go ahead and subscribe at Malcolm Flex TV. Press that subscription box and also press that bell for notifications for our latest content on presentation, lectures, reviews, news, and interviews. You name it! And also, if you would like to support your brother, Malcolm Flex TV, you can also go to patreon.com facebook.com/MalcolmFlexTV. And we would love to join you on our show. Peace and assalamu alaikum.
I was told to deliver this message.